Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we're talking about a fanfiction called Through the Core. Details about this fanfiction will be in description below. In this, we follow our main character, Sam, who ends up dying, and then it's just reborn in Marvel. And she's reborn as she's a kid again, and she's sickly, so great. Like, her first thing waking up is like, this isn't a hospital room. First off, I thought we're sure she was dead, but she's like, this is not a hospital room. This is just, and then like she has memories start coming back to her, of course, because like she's reborn here. So memories start kind of coming back of it's still her, but like from this person, which is still her, of who this person is, what her situation is, and it's like, okay, this is her dad. He's a butler. She's his sickly daughter. He works for the Stark family. So it's like, he's a butler. So it's like, oh, fantastic. She's never met any of them though until this moment because he's bored. Where Tony just comes in. They're kids, right? So he just comes in because he's like bored, and he's like, I promise I won't touch anything because to him, like she had just, because she's really sick, always has been. So she just kind of fainted out of nowhere, and like now she's finally waking up. So she's bedridden kind of most of her time, really. It's not all the time. And so her and Tony kind of become fast friends, and it makes it easier because she's not really like, she's a kid again, but still with the like mindset of like, I was like 20 whatever, right? She's like an adult, right? And so she doesn't necessarily treat Tony like he is a kid, and she's not really condescending towards him. And whatever he does show her off, maybe some blueprints to inventions or whatever, she does make like suggestions, but never as if it's like in a condescending way or like an airing or anything. It's just like as if giving a new perspective, which is refreshing to him because yeah, never had that before. And he'll often go to her to complain about his dad. And so they get closer to the point where truly they are each other's best friends. And obviously she has no one else. Well, so he doesn't have anyone else either. But he's got like one other person. I don't know. He doesn't have many, but they end up being really close. And so to the point where she is definitely his like solace, where everything gets a little too chaotic, a little too crazy. He gets a little too worked up. He goes to her, like, to immediately thinks, like, goes to her. He's calmed down. Because at this point, she's the only one that could ever, it's like, okay, you need to, without getting him worked up more. And it's not until they're 15, 16 when, first off, what, find out, ta-da, soulmates exist. She's never, and why wouldn't you be surprised? She's like, what? Because it's like, I'm sorry. When is this a thing? Hello? So, and this starts a whole thing of like, somewhere along the way, they both very clearly recognize that they are each other's soulmates, right? But they never cross that line. They never say anything about it. It's like they don't want to change anything about their like relationship, afraid to take that next step, right? So they're just comfortable for years living in this territory of not quite being sure of where it will go. Like they know like they're each other's best friends and they mean everything to each other. They don't like they know they can't imagine a world without each other. But they also don't know how to take that next step to be like clearly soulmates. And it's also Tony's kind of thing of like not really believing in it, which makes it a little like, ugh. There's also kind of like the reality of soulmates that kind of prevents them from taking that next step. Because I mean, there's like, the whole romanticized version of like, and everything works out. But then reality kind of hits you of like, not really. If that other person doesn't want anything to do with you, then what? Like, they don't have to be with you. This isn't some like instant connection. It just shows like, yeah, that's them. But like, if they don't like you, that's it. So the reality kind of sets in, and so they're afraid that this might kind of, like, what does this mean for their relationship? Would this change? Like, how would this affect them? As time goes on, they grow older. They move to Malibu because Tony all the begs her basically. He pleads. He's like, he's not gonna force her, but he does want her, and like they're kind of all they have, especially with parents being dead. So it's like, yeah, of course. Um, she's very much, because I mean she's sickly, right? And like, but she's very much out of. I mean, she's better now, but she's out of the kind of the spotlight and everything having to do with what Tony is involved in. And so it shows when he starts kind of getting anxious, right? Because he invited Rhodey over and he's going to introduce, the two of them. And he's immediately, like, she can immediately tell, it's like, you're real nervous about this. And he's like, this is like to show, because he doesn't want, he like likes that she's uninvolved in the spotlight and everything that's kind of messy and the drama going on with everything that kind of he is. He likes the quiet moments between them, and he doesn't ever really want to see her hurt. And he likes that she's uninvolved in that. And so to show like he cares for Rhodey, like that's his best friend, but this is like showing a very vulnerable side that's like almost uncomfortable because he doesn't know what to do if it ever kind of goes wrong. It goes well, unsurprisingly, but throughout all of it, she can't help but feel like an observer instead of actually kind of being in the moment of like enjoying it. Because, I mean, she knows things, right? She knows kind of what's gonna come, and she can't help but be nervous about it. And then it does kind of start getting closer to it, where the whole presentation for the Jericho missiles are coming up. And she kind of panics, but she also doesn't know how to tell Tony because that sounds insane. Yeah, I know about this from like I watched, it was a movie. Like that sounds insane. So she wants to tell Tony, but she doesn't know how to. So when it does actually end up happening and he's gone, like she tries to warn him, but he, being his usual self, kind of brushes it off, right? So when it does actually happen, she can't, like, she knows like he's gonna come back, he's gonna be fine. But that still doesn't help. Like, this is real now. She's worried. She knows he comes back real different. While she just kind of sits there and has to, wait and agonizing slow. And, Pepper and Rhodey kind of, because she constantly calls Rhodey. It's like, is there any updates, and them never really being any, and them constantly kind of cover her, like, we'll try our best to get home we'll get him home as soon as possible. Tony, meanwhile, in the cave, is literally thinking about like how much he's realizing he literally can't live without her, how much he does love her, and willing to, like, this is kind of like pushing to the edge where he's willing to take that chance. All right, soulmates, might as well admit it to each other, and that he really can't live without her. But this is also like he's thinking back to the conversation, like the last conversation they had, where she was begging him not to go, and he was like brushing her off, like, no, it'll be fine, it'll be whatever, and that, everything's fine, because she couldn't say anything. I'd be like, oh, it was like, she's like, it was just a feeling, right? So she didn't quite say what it was, And so he kind of mocked her a bit and was dismissive of it because it's just a feeling. It's not very, you know, logical. And now being in that situation, he's like, damn, that was the last conversation I had with her, which was like ended on like a kind of bitter note, like a sad, bitter note. So it's just like, so that he can't help but think it over. And this is kind of what pushes him to like once he gets out, like he has to get back. Like it's hardened his resolve to get back because he has someone he wants to go back to. Plenty of people do, like Rhodey, Pepper, like all of them, right? But truly, he wants to get back to Sam. He has to. Like this isn't where he wants to die. When he does get back, that's the moment where, like, in the quiet moment where it's just them two alone that night, because it's like, I don't want to go to the hospital, right? Where it's just him and Sam, where they finally get together and they finally admit each other, yeah, no shit, you really love each other, and also soulmates. So like, great, yay! And then nothing like a little trauma to just kind of help you in the right direction. And since then, I mean, she knows where the story's going. She just has to look for it. So she immediately starts looking into Obadiah and like the connections, right? Because just because she knows, like, yeah, it was him, doesn't mean like she has to prove it. She gets help from Jarvis, and it turns out Tony, like, of course he knows, right? She's kind of looking into it, and he's like kind of glad that she is because he doesn't know, obviously it's like suspected. How would anyone know about this, right? But because Obadiah's been there for how many years at this point, it's like for him to do it himself, it's like, ugh. But yeah, no, it's pretty obvious it's him. And then so they start working on the suit, and at one point Obadiah does a little check-in. I mean, it's not really a check-in; it's more like he's under the guise of a check-in. He's keeping tabs on Tony, see what he's up to, what he's doing, and you know this is where because it was unexpected, it just like out of nowhere, that he ends up meeting Sam. And I was like, Tony doesn't want that at all. So he lies, throw him off like, oh, she's part of the team. They both lied, part of the team, to not draw any attention to her whatsoever. During the whole kind of final confrontation between Stain and Tony, like where he gets in, he ends up knocking, like, right, he knocks her out, she takes a blow to the back of the head. And because she was already kind of fragile to begin with, because she was very sickly ever since childhood, does a hell of a lot more damage. I mean, already than getting cracked in the back of the head. But, so Tony's immediately, like, once he's up and, like, has his back in the old reactor back in his chest, he's immediately worried about Sam, because she's, like, she's bleeding, she's breathing very shallow. It's not looking great, but it doesn't work out, right? In the hospital after he's done taking out Stain, after taking him down, everything kind of works out, sorta. So they're in the hospital, they're talking, and how Sam mentions how this goes deeper than him, and she talks about the six rings and everything. It's like goes way deeper than that, and he asks like, "Oh, is this from the visions you have?" Because like that's how she describes it. Like that's how she describes it to him. Of like they're almost like visions that come to her, which is like not wrong. So I imagine if you live your life for how many years, you wouldn't remember certain things, and so some things would be unclear. So like it would seem like visions. It's not, but it might as well be. So that's how she's described it to him. And that he has no reason not to trust her, and so she tells him about the whole six rings, and not the entirety of it, but she tells him like the threat, like just because he's gone doesn't really mean anything. They're still going to be after us. So this is a threat that they truly cannot ignore anymore. The second one, during the whole his little arc reactor poisoning, clear that up immediately. She sees he's going down like a self-destructive path. Immediately shuts that down. Of like, no, it's like we'll figure it out like together, right? And so they end up curing his poison a bit earlier, right? And this catches the attention of Shield, always watching, of course they are. And so when they're in the shop and like they're the shop, the little diner with Tony and her, this is where obviously Fury comes in, and he's already cured, everything's fine. But that's not why they're there, right? They present the case like, oh, Thor's hammer. And it's like, oh. So Tony's like, okay, so you know what? You need us to go down there and poke at, see what it is. Like, no, I need her, like, to go figure, like, to tell me what it is. Like, because obviously, them two track, they noticed she just knows things. How? No one knows. But they noticed that. And Tony's immediately protective because it's like, she's not a lab rat. So let's get that out the way. Like, she's not, you know. But end up going anyway because she knows opportunity. Opportunity. And so she does end up telling him, it's like, oh yeah, beings like gods, not necessarily gods himself, but still the whole thing. Like, Jesus Christ, right? So they're kind of prepared for Thor to come, sort of, not completely. And then when Thor does come, it turns out, oh my, would you look at that? They also have a connection, her and Thor. A soul bond, but not like in a romantic way. Just more like, oh, we're family, cool. We're siblings, sweet. So I love that, and so they end up ditching the base, the whole like makeshift shield base, ditching it. Tony comes in. He's like, all right, let's take a stop here, right? He ends up having a place because, of course, he has a place somewhere around there. And then when the whole battle between what is that? The Sentinel or whatever. I forgot what it's called now. Tony's also there. It's like, just, because I mean, like, yeah, why wouldn't he be there? Because it's just like, he's cured. Everything's fine. Sort of. During that whole fiasco, she finds out she's pregnant. So they're expecting. And so during the end of it, after everything's kind of resolved, he's ecstatic because this is now, like, they're moving back to New York. He's like putting everything to this wedding, and also like the nursery. He's like, okay, gotta have like a mini arc reactor, nightlight. It's like, oh, the wedding cake shop drone. It's like doing too much. What are we doing? But it doesn't really work out because before any of that could really happen, obviously, whole Avengers things happen, right? So it's all hands on deck situation. Tony has to go. And so, she's like, I just, everything kind of works out. And she's pregnant, so definitely can't even really get involved when she wants to. So, not that it matters anyway, because she gets kidnapped by S.H.I.E.L.D. It's fine. Fury's like, she's looking at Fury, it's like, really? It's like, Tony's not gonna be happy when he figures out you kind of kidnapped me. He's like, it's fine. You're just gonna be on the ship. Like, you'll be with Dr. Banner, like, in the lab. Like, just kind of, because again, she knows things that she really shouldn't know. So, at this point, just kind of accept it. So, he needs her, So, of course, just gonna kidnap her. Just like, forget, just kidnap her. It'll be fine. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!